cactus and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video I'm going to be repotting and doing a little bit of pruning of my Pilosocereus cactus, and going to do a bit of a revamp with it because the growing tips are not looking good and the cactus itself is looking a little bit worse for wear. Now then guys, I've got this Pilosocereus in my office and it is really in a bad way. So this video is going to be really more of a rescue and see if I can save it type of video rather than just your normal repotting and pruning video. And first I'm going to talk about this particular cactus. It's one I got many years ago, a long time ago from Dublin, from a lovely florist at the Pilosocereus shopping centre. Gorgeous cactus, and it's not one that's commonly seen in collections. More common types of Pilosocereus. I like the typical one here, like the Pilosocereus azaleus, and this one is sort of a special one because it sort of branches out and it's gorgeous. However, since I got it, it has really struggled. The first year I had it, it rotted at the base and I had to cut it and reroot it again, and then it rotted again and I had to reroot it again. It seems to really struggle. Now, the latest thing I've had with this poor cactus, and I noticed this sort of the past couple of years, is that it was going a very strange colour. And you can see here, I just turn it round. It's very sort of yellow and sickly looking, not good at all. I repotted it about a year and a half ago and it seemed to really pick up and it carried on growing, a lot of new growth at the top. However, over the winter, it's just gone bad to worse. And the growing tip here, as you can see, is completely dead. It's just completely brown and dead. And every growing tip is exactly the same. That's dead. That's dead. And these two at the edges, the tips of the arms are also dead. So obviously I have to prune these off, and I'm hoping that it's going to callus over when I prune it, and it will eventually send another shoot out. It should recover, but I'm more concerned about the colour of it. It's very sickly looking and yellow. And this is a cactus that I keep indoors over the winter months because Pilosocereus are not cold hardy. They do need to have a winter warmth. So it's one I have in my grow room downstairs, and it's kept around 15 Celsius. Can take 10 C, which is about 50°F in the winter, as long as they're kept pretty dry. But this one is one that it can just collapse, as can all Pilosocereus. They're warm loving cacti. And I've been giving this the best care I have. I've repotted it in very well draining soil. As I say, I managed to reroot it again twice. A lot of the time, I think energy was going to the root system, but it is in a bad way. So obviously I'm going to get it out of its pot and check over the roots again. I'm going to change the soil anyway because it's very anemic looking, and I also have to cut off these growing tips, and it's possible that it may have got spider mite at some point, and this is common why they get this growing tip. I also notice it on certain types of cacti such as cacti that sometimes suffer from this tip dieback, usually after the winter months. And this is usually when they've been kept too dry in the pot over the winter. And I do keep my cacti dry because of my conditions here. But I find any dieback on cacti, usually they'll either just die back and it will stop, and then it will side shoot again. They seem to recover well. This is a Pilosocereus, so it's different. And I'm going to have to cut the tops off. So I've got here a pair of cutting shears here, and these are ones that Hans has had for many years. So I'm using these, make sure that obviously they're clean. And I've got a pot. No, I'm not going to pot it up into this one, guys. This is actually to protect my hands, because when I do the cut, I need to obviously protect my hands, and this is good for when I'm handling the spiny bits here. So I'm going to have to obviously cut this, and I'm going to show you how I do it. And I have no idea what I'm going to see, because when you're cutting off dead bits on cacti, you want to also make sure that you cut down to the fresh, healthy tissue as well. So I'm also going to be dusting with a bit of yellow sulfur powder as well, just to make sure that no fungus or anything like that can enter the wound once I've cut it. But I also don't know what it's going to look like either when I get it out. So first of all, I'm going to get the stand up so I can put the camera on, and then I'm going to get cutting. Now then guys, I've had to set the stand up because I'm on my own filming this, and it's dark outside as well, so apologies if it's a little bit bright, because I've had to get the studio light and the overhead grow light to be able to film. So I'm just going to have to tilt this towards the camera here, and I hope you can see what I'm doing. So obviously I've got my little pot here to protect my hands. And first of all, I'm going to take off these shorter pieces here. And what you want to do, obviously, when you have this dye back, and you can get it, as I mentioned, also cleister cacti, as I mentioned, prone to it, this dye back. You have to make sure you cut below where this dye back is. So I want to go at least a centimetre or so underneath it. So I've got fresh part of the cactus. Hopefully it shouldn't be too bad underneath, but let's see. So obviously that's to protect my hands. And the reason why I don't like to use gloves, I find gloves are hopeless with spines and things like that. But hopefully if you have to do this on your cacti, you find some way of protecting your hands, even if it's a few sheets of hard card or newspaper. I find pots like this are perfect. So that's the fresh part there. Apologies if the lighting isn't brilliant. And just want to cut. There we go. Well, good news is, and yes, I am going to touch this with my hands now because it's okay to handle. There's no rock going through there, as you can see. It's pretty green, so that's pretty much okay. And just show you here as well, up to the camera. You can see there, it's fresh. So happy days. I'm going to sprinkle that with sulfur powder afterwards. And now I'm going to do the same with all the other ones. Now hopefully that's a bit closer for you guys to see what I'm doing here as well. I find if I get too close it can go a little bit out of focus. So there again, there's the black there, and I want to get a little bit below that fresh part. And you can use a knife as well. I just find it's easier to use with these pruning shears. You don't want to use scissors or things like that can crush a lot of the cells. Yep, that's okay. Oh. Right, that's it. Oh, poor thing. That's the other one, and it's such a shame because it's such a gorgeous cactus. I hate having to cut it, but I've really struggled with this one, and I really have no idea why. You can see there it's also got, it oozes out that little black sort of sticky sap as well sometimes. That where I just pull this stand back a little bit so you can see a bit better. And that sometimes causes these little mould issues as well. So again, that's where it's dyed back there. Not too bad on this one actually, so I'm only going to go a little bit below. That's that one. And then this one, same. So sorry for lately all the videos I've been putting on have all been pest ones and things like that. But this is a good time of year to get on top of any plants. They're not looking so good before the growing season starts. So that's good. It's fresh underneath, which is the most important thing. And I'm just going to tilt this up here so you can see me doing the main one, the growing part here. And this is in a really bad way, as you can see. Look at that. Horrible. It's all dried up. And I say I really have no idea why. People often ask me and send me messages and say, Lynn, can you help me with my cactus? I've got a problem with it and that. And sometimes I don't know, even though I've been growing cacti for over 40 years, since I was 12 years old, guys, and I'm 52 now, 53 this year, and there's still things I don't understand about cacti. It's always things you're always learning, and it's always a mystery. So this, obviously, I'm going to go beyond now. This one is going to, may have to hold it up. I can't put it towards the camera. Just want to make sure, obviously, I go a bit below it, and a quick scoop of that. off with its head. Huh. Well, good news, no rot in there, as you can see, pretty fresh. So over time, what will happen, these cut parts here, they will form a bit of a skin, and they will dry in. That this will actually draw itself in as well, and it won't be so noticeable with the holes at the top that have taken off here. But it's good, it's fresh, there's no rot, so it's not top rot, it's just dead tips. So now I'm going to get a bit of sulphur powder just to dust over the top of them. This is just a bit of a precaution. By putting a bit of dusting a bit of sulphur powder, it helps to prevent any chance of any fungus sort of growing on the top of the open wound. I've got this yellow sulphur here, one by Vitax, and I don't know if you can still get this anymore. A lot of things are not available to get, or they're banned or whatever. I have no idea. I've just stuff I've got in my plant cupboard I've had for years. But you can also use cinnamon powder as well. Pure cinnamon powder works in exactly the same way, and it's a lot easier to get. So I just literally put a little bit in here, and you really only need the tiniest little bit. So I'm just going to be dabbing this on here. I'll just show you what I'm doing. Loading up the brush and just dabbing a tiny bit on. This just helps to keep any chances of any fungus away. I'll do the same with the other ones as well. Just a slight puff. And that's that Pilosocereus Cactus all dusted, and it should recover well. Now the next thing I'm going to do is obviously take it out of the pot and check its root system over. And somebody may have said, well, maybe you should have done that first and then cut it after, but I don't do things in any order. So I've got another bigger pot, a larger pot this time, to protect my hands when I'm taking it out to repot it. I shouldn't really have to disturb the cactus anyway. I may not even need to use the pot, so I'm just going to turn it onto its side here. And now I'm going to oops, turn it down so you can see what I'm doing. Oh, poor little patient. I'm going to squeeze the pot. I have no idea. So I repotted this into quite a very well draining soil after it had re-rooted again. Now then, I don't need to put it into a bigger pot. I just don't know what the root system is like. Oh, look at that. If anything, I think the pot was more than big enough. So look at that. Okay, now just pull this back so you can see. The good news is it's got a great root system there. So there's no problem with the roots, no mealybugs. This white is actually pumice, by the way. it's not mealybug or anything like that. And I don't really want to disturb that too much. It's got more than enough root system. If anything, it's quite dehydrated. And what I'm going to probably do is, obviously I'm going to change the soil. It doesn't need to be in such a big of a pot. And I'm happy that because I had to re-root it twice. It's got a brilliant root system, and I'm more than happy with that. So I'm going to very carefully put it into a slightly smaller pot than what that was in, and then pot it up into fresh soil, just to freshen it up. Happy days. Looks pretty good there. Maybe I used a bit too much. So when I potted this plant up, when it had re-rooted itself, I used, as you can see here, tons of pumice. I used an extra gritty mix because I didn't want it rotting again. But I'm going to use a little bit more of the loam this time, because I think it definitely needs more of a richer soil, because it was probably too well draining for it. Now I've cleaned the tray, and I've got a pot here, and it's a much wider pot, but not necessarily a deeper pot, because looking at the root system, and you can see here, get it closer, that the roots are very sort of around the edges, and I think this is going to be better with a slightly wider pot than the one it was in, and also it's going to give it more room as well. But it's good to check as well that there's no signs of insect pests such as vine weevils or mealybug, root mealybugs. And happy to say this looks pretty good. And the reason why I'm not going to loosen up this root ball is because, as I say, it's rotted twice. And I'm just so happy that it has grown a very, very good root system there. No problem. And I'm going to be putting soil in this and potting it up. And also a bit of a wider pot's going to give it a bit more stability as well. So here we go. The soil mix I've got here is a mixture of loam. In this case I've used John Innes No. 2 by brand by Clover, and I've thrown in a little bit of pumice as well, and also a little bit of grit and a bit of sharp sand. So it's well draining but not quite as gritty, and because the last mix I used was high in grit and also high in pumice, this is more loam, which I think this cactus is going to like. And as you can see, the soil is nice and loose, so it's going to be free draining. And now time to get potting this up. So now I've put a bit of soil in the bottom there, and using, again, this is where this comes in handy. May not need it though, because I think I'm going to be able to handle this purely from the base without having to touch it. And I'm going to also remove these sort of old weeds at the bottom here. So I think the problem with this cactus, it's got a great root system now, so that's the good news. But I think it's probably just been kept too dry, which has caused the dieback on the tips. And by not disturbing the root system as little as possible, it also means that I'll be able to start watering this up and hydrating it up a little bit earlier as well, rather than leaving it too late. So there we go, in there. Ooh. And one thing I love about this cactus, it just resembles a little bit like a saguaro with its appearance. So that made sure that's, I just pull this back so you can see a bit better. There you go. And the soil all around the sides. So I think this cactus is going to recover really well. And at this time of year, you know, it's sort of patiently waiting for the spring, and I used to think, oh, I'll get that done in the spring, and I'm starting a lot of plant jobs, especially cacti I've got in the house already that are going to be coming out for the spring and summer months. I can make a start with a lot of repotting of these, and any plants that are not looking so good, I can get them seen to now. It means then when the growing season really starts, then sort of in the April time, it means these plants will have a bit of a head start with any problems they have. So gently tucking that in and then turning it around. So I'm just so happy this plant's not rotting or anything like that. I think it's just got very yellow because it's just been dehydrated and shriveled. And I think the fresh soil as well. Probably been putting a lot of energy to the root system. Happy days. Now, what I'm going to be doing now, although this plant does need watering to get itself hydrated again, I'm going to still hold off watering for about 10 days just to let this cactus settle into this new pot and soil. And although I don't water any of my desert cacti that are in the polytunnel until April, depending on what the weather is going to be doing, how warm it is and that, I will be keeping this one in the grow room. I'm going to actually put this under the lights here in this grow room, and this will help to speed it up a little bit with the warmth in here, rather than, it's too cold to go in the polytunnel anyway. It's a Pilosocereus, but in the back room where I've got my other tall Cereus cacti, it's not the best position. It's okay for overwintering, but the extra light in this office and the heat will help to get it into growth a bit sooner. Happy days. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll let you know how the Pilosocereus gunnellii gets on and recovers. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you haven't done already, then don't forget to subscribe. Do click the notification bell. And you can also follow me on Insta, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And check out my website, desertplantsofavalon.com, for lots of regular blogs, as well as care tips on there. I want to wish you all a magnificent cactus powered day.